All right, everybody. Welcome to Dave's Man Cave. We're doing another watch unboxing. As I've skinny down my collection, I'm focusing more on certain kinds of pieces and things like that, and being a little more picky. And I'm not doing any more homages. Everything's going to be, legit brand names and stuff like that from here on out. And so this is one we're going to review. Before we get into it, quick watch check. What are we wearing? Victorinox for Field Force 43 mil. Nice quartz watch. We'll take this off so I can put the new one on with a nice bracelet with a butterfly clasp. Really nice. Go watch the video for that one. It's a day, date, 100-meter water resistance. It's a nice tool, but still could pull off. It's almost a dress watch, but it's a field watch style, but a little bit nicer than your normal bare bones field watches. And I got another Seiko. In fact, the only Seiko I've got in my collection now until we open up this bad boy, which is the Patty Solar 43 mil diver. So very nice little watch, just under $300. Really good price, 200-meter water resistance, screw down crown, nice clicky bezel. And I wanted to get another one, but not one like a diver necessarily. So what did we get? Well, that's kind of nice. Tells you what batteries it takes. Although these are solar, so this one is the it's the 192 movement, which takes one of these solar cells. Anyway, it is from their Prospex lines, and it is a reissuing of an older model of theirs. So they've had one around for a while. It was 39 millimeter, and I loved it except for the size. And it turns out they came out with a larger one. And what this is back in 1969, they had their Speedtimer, which was very similar to, in look and feel, to the Daytona, from Rolex. And I love that watch, but I'm not spending $30,000 on a watch. I can't spend, not even an option, not spending $30,000 on a watch. If you could even find one, and if I had the money, and if I got on a waiting list and waited my turn and whatever other nonsense they forced me through, probably buying other watches and jewelry to be able to get on the waiting list. By the time you're done, you might have to spend $40,000 to get one and wait 3 years or more. Yeah, we're not playing that game. So let's open the box. You got your card, manual, tells you not to eat the watch. Okay, I guess you have to put that in there these days. But you'll notice this does look a lot like a Daytona. And there's a lot of watches out there. This is not an homage. Actually, Seiko came out with their Speedtimer with the tachometer dial, or tachymeter, whatever it is, back in 1969. In fact, it was one of the first automatic chronographs. Wasn't the first, but it was among them, going back over 50 years. So this one is quartz. It is also powered by solar, so it's got a 6-month power reserve. We'll go through some of the specs. It has a screw-in back with a little sticker here, a little take off. And stainless steel. It's got a nice little clasp. It is machined, not your normal stamped. Nice action there. It has a micro adjust, just simple name on the stamped on the clasp. Its micro adjust is only 2 positions, and there are no half links. So that's probably the one thing you'll want to keep in mind if you were to go with a watch like this is, some watches give you more latitude than others with full links, half links, and then 3, 4, even 5 micro adjust, and you can pretty much dial that in perfect. Here, you don't quite have that same latitude, but I removed 2 from one side, 1 from the other, and that was just enough, and it feels really good. So we'll go through the specs really quick. So what this is called is the Prospex Speedtimer Solar Chronograph, and it is a US special edition. This particular color I do not believe was offered in other countries. If you go to Seiko's main website, you don't see it. You have to go to Seiko USA. The model number itself is S, so Sigma, Kappa. Oh no, wait, Kappa's a K, isn't it? Sigma, Charlie, 945. So SSC 945. Their MSRP on their website's $850. I did not pay that. I got this for $600 plus tax over at Tripp & Company Jewelers in Dawsonville. They don't sponsor me. Just give them a free plug. Really nice guys to deal with. And gals. So you can get these in all different colors. This one is the kind of silverish panda design on the dial with a ceramic red. And it's not a really bright red. It's almost like it's not pastel either, but it's a little bit of a muted red, which I think makes it look a little bit more retro. Sometimes you see it, it's like really bright ruby red or almost like Porsche red. And I'm like, it's a little flashy. This is inspired by Seiko's 1969 Speedtimer, which was one of the world's first automatic chronographs. We got a white dial with contrasting black subdials with red accents. Those subdials are actually the solar cells. So your little complications on there are the solar cells. This does have a 6-month power reserve. As long as it's out in the light, sunlight, room light, it'll just keep running. If you put it in a drawer somewhere dark, you got about 6 months before you'll have to put a light on it and recharge it. Those batteries typically last 15 to 20 years. Chronographs measures up to 60 minutes of elapsed time in 1/5 of a second increments, and it does support a split time measurement. It's got date calendar, 24-hour subdial, Lumi bright hands and markers, screw down case back, and a tri-fold push button release clasp. Now the technical data, 41.4 millimeters, 13 millimeters flat. Length, which I'm assuming means lug to lug, is 45.9. So it's going to sit kind of small on the wrist. So it's a 42. Some people like 39s. I think this will wear small enough for you. And even though I like larger watches, it was just big enough to work for me. It is all stainless steel. Now, a lot of the other Seikos like this uses what they call hardlex, and it's a hardened crystal. It's a mineral crystal. This actually does use curved sapphire with anti-reflective. So the Prospex lines and some of their newer ones, which is why this is, a $600 to $800 watch, and that's a $300 watch. One of the things that is upgraded in here is the crystal. Has 10 bar 100 meter water resistance, which means 330 feet. Now, this came with your stainless steel bracelet, and it also came with a genuine leather, perforated leather, kind of a sport strap. So if you don't want to use the metal, you've got that kind of sport strap look and feel where it's got the perforated leather, although it doesn't go all the way through, so I guess it doesn't actually breathe. It's not perforated right through to the skin, just gives you that look. But it's got this nice clasp on there, so yeah, that would actually probably look pretty good if you wanted it on that leather kind of sport strap. Being that I ride sometimes in the rain or I'm going in the shower, I don't want to necessarily put that on because I know you can get it wet, but to me, I'm like, I don't want to. I like the bracelet on this type of watch, but it is nice that they included that. Comes with that. Really nice, and it's got a really nice clasp on it. So let's see, let's pull that off for a minute and see what that looks like. Yeah, I mean, that's really nice. So that would go through. You would have that, let's see, I guess you would lift that up. This goes in. Let's just say we have it adjusted there. And did I do that right? Yeah, so that would go snap like that, and then you'd tuck this underneath. So, I mean, it is kind of nice. It's definitely a nice clasp, but I'm not going to use it, so it's going back in the box. Yeah, there's my 3 links I took out. It does use just plain old push pins, not screws. It's fine. These are solid links. They are not stamped, so that's good as well. I mean, it's a nice watch. I mean, Seiko makes a really good watch, and their Prospex line is really nice. Let's get this on the wrist. So with 3 links removed, I can move it around just a little bit. That's about as loose as I like it. If it starts getting really cold or maybe I don't retain water, get a little dehydrated, I can tighten it up a little bit. So for my wrist, which are 7.3 in circumference, that is perfect. Moves around just a little bit without getting comfortable and pinching, and I could make it a tiny bit tighter if it did get a little bit loose. So all in all, very, very impressive. I think it looks gorgeous. I think from across the room, people might mistake that for a Daytona. I mean, it obviously has that same sort of look. I don't know when did the Daytona come out? Which one was first? Rolex Daytona first issued. When did it come out? 1963. All right, so the Cosmograph Daytona came out a couple years prior to Seiko doing it. It looks enough different that it's not, there's no copyright infringement. It's not an homage. Seiko does their own shit. But I think of that era, there were a lot of watches that had a typical kind of look when you had integrated braid, like the AP Royal Oak. Well, Riviera from Baume & Mercier came out. They were designing them at the same time. They were competing products. AP just happened to get to market a few months before, and the next calendar year was when the prototype that Baume & Mercier had been working on went to market. So it came out in 73. So there's a lot of watches that do have a similar look and feel. This is not like a Pagani that's just basically ripping off and making a Seamaster or a Daytona and just putting a Pagani label on it and saying, yeah, that's our watch. This is a Seiko. This has a 55-year history. The difference is, of course, it's a slightly different size and it's using a solar quartz movement, but this is a reproduction and reimagining of Seiko's own history, of which it's very rich. Seiko is a really good major player in the watch world. They're very respected. So they ain't copying nobody. Some people will say that, but I will say that if you're the kind of person who likes that style of a watch, but you're like me and you can't and will probably never be able to afford an actual Daytona, or even if you could, you're just like, I ain't spending $30,000 and waiting years for a freaking watch, but you don't want to go the homage route. Yeah, you can go with an Omega Seamaster and, Speedmaster. You can go with some other ones that are, 6,000 to 8,000. But if you wanted to keep it under 1,000, but you wanted a quality watch with a good warranty, very well respected, really good cachet and history and brand name, you can never go wrong with Seiko. You watch Teddy Baldessari, you watch, Kevin O'Leary, any of those folks, you can never go wrong with a Seiko. There's certain brands that are just quality. Seiko, Citizen, Tissot, Hamilton. There's just certain brands that are in that affordable range of a couple hundred up to $1,000 or $2,000, and you can get a lot of watch in that range. And you can go with micro brands, you can go Christopher Ward, you can get a lot of stuff, but I have never heard bad about Seiko. It's typical Japanese precision engineering. Some things they do, like motorcycles, they're all about precision and performance, but sometimes the designs are not exactly provocative like the Italians and things. That doesn't extend to watches. The Japanese have some really cool designs in their watches that I think are iconic, even if it doesn't have the price tag, even if it doesn't have the allure of, oh, you have a Rolex. No one's, anyone who's turning their nose down at a watch like this, that's a $600 to $800 watch, depending on where you buy it from a reputable brand, that's just a poser. They're just talking through ego. Yeah, there's much more expensive watches and there's better watches that you could buy. But for the money, they're like Hamilton and a couple other of those brands, like Tissot. They really are amazing watches for the money. They take what they do seriously. I think Seiko's been around since, how long they've been in business? Like 1880 something? They've been around forever. So it's really, really nice. And I love the fact that I don't have to put it in a watch winder. If I don't wear it for a week or two, I don't have to worry about it winding down. I don't have to worry about, the time I go to get it, the battery's dead. It's a solar watch, just like this, just like some of my Citizens, just like my G-Shock. Well, actually, no, not that G-Shock. That G-Shock isn't. But it is nice, just, you kind of set it and forget it. The most I ever have to do is at the end of the month, if a month has only 29 or 30 days in it, I have to go in and set the date. But I have to do that on my automatics anyway. Other than that, these things are just maintenance free. And being that they're solar, I don't have to break the seal and pop them open every 2, 3, 4 years to pop a new battery in there. Like, it stays sealed. The more it stays sealed and the less you open it, the less chance of you tearing a gasket or getting dust or moisture inside. It's just nice. It would be cool if it was a screw down crown, but this is more of an automotive. This is more of a motorsports as opposed to a dive watch. The dive watches are going to be more 200 with screw down crowns, or some of my watches are 300s. My Marine Star, both of my Longines, those are 300-meter watches, but you're paying a lot more money, and that's what the dive style is. This is more of a motorsport timing chronograph kind of thing, and I think that is gorgeous. I love the bracelet. It's just simple. It's clean. The clasp is nice and comfortable. I like that it's stamped. You can see another area where they cut corners on this one. But again, it's a $300 watch. It's still a nice watch. But you can see the difference, Not only is that pressed. It's also bulkier and thicker. You know, when you look at that on your wrist, there's this big chunk of metal. This tends to sit a little flatter and it's a little cleaner and it's just a little nicer. You got less metal. Of course, with that buckle being shorter, that does limit how much how many spots they have they can drill holes for or micro adjust. But there you go. Simple back. I love that they gave you the option of throwing on that. I mean, I might do it just to see how it looks and feels, but honestly, keep that for when this bracelet gets all scratched up. Like in a couple years, you know, it gets all scuffed up, but the watch is in good shape, but maybe this is all scuffed up. You got an extra bracelet that has the Seiko name. You don't have to go aftermarket. Something like that. I mean, if you were to buy something of that quality with a nice clasp like that, you'd probably spend, I don't know, $60, $80, $100 for something like that. So it's kind of nice that they did include it. I guess it uses the same spring bars that are in there. They're not quick disconnects, so you will need to use a little tool. But overall, I think that's a fantastic watch. I've been eyeing it for a while. They've got different colors. I mean, I could go through the different color combos. They have one that's all white with black. They've got blue. They've got, let's see, they got this color, which is kind of whitish silver with red. They've got one that's dark gray with blue. They've got an off-white like eggshell with a really dark green. They've got black with black and gold highlights. They've got light blue with black, black on black. They've got a ruby red with a black dial. They've got one that's really bright blue, iridescent blue with black. They've got one that's black bezel with yellow. And then they've got one that's blue with a blue Pepsi. I came down to this one and the one that was gray with the blue. But I have so many watches that are gray or black or blue that I was like, you know what? This is different enough from anything I have. That's the one. So I'll put a link to the collection of Prospex watches that this encompasses in the description. But it's an absolutely gorgeous watch. Easy on, easy off. It's nice. They didn't give the weight, but I mean, it weighs the same as any other watch in this range. It's just big enough for me to wear comfortably and look nice on my arm, but it's not going to be so big that people that typically go 39 to 40 are going to go, oh my God, that's a boat anchor. It wears, you can see how short it is this way. The lug to lug for a watch that's almost 42 millimeters, it's only 45 something here. It's not 50 something. So a couple close-ups for you folks that say I move around when I'm talking too much. Look at the side. You got your X for the Prospex, nice knurling. Again, not screw down on either of those, but it's not a dive watch. You know, even my $450, my Pro Diver chronograph or Dive Master, Pro Master Diver, whatever it is from Citizen, that's a dive watch with, that has screw down crowns on everything. This doesn't. You can go swimming with it. Don't use the stopwatch underwater. And before you jump in the pool or go and jump in the shower or the hot tub, make sure the crown's pushed in. And you'll be fine with 100-meter water resistance. Anything more than those activities, I would prefer a screw-down crown. But for every day, this is going to be a fantastic watch. One last time, get a good look. Pause it if you want to see anything specific. There you have it. Prospex, the new one. And when you look at them, make sure that it is the number, the model numbers start with SSC9. And then they'll have different numbers for the different color combinations. Those are the 41.4s. There is the older series that is 39s and has a couple other little differences. These are the newer ones. These are the updated ones. So if you want the larger watch, make sure you get the SSC 9XX, whatever XX will be the different numbers for the color combos. But there you have it. Hope you enjoy. I know I'm gonna.